Tov, what do you say? Welcome to our Monday night shiur. We want to thank our sponsor on the get-go, David, my good friend from Roslyn. His birthday is today. We wish him a happy birthday. He wanted to do, actually his birthday is tomorrow, but I told him if you do it a day before, it's also good. Because the sponsor Torah is always good. And so Hashem should bless him with a long life.
Amen.
Thank you for sponsoring the shiur. We always said, the Gemara says whoever wants to fill his cellar with wine, he has to fill the throats of Talmidei Chachamim with wine. Whoever wants to have a house full of shefa, he has to fill the house of Talmidei Chachamim with shefa. So Hashem should bless you midah keneged midah with a shirut mufleged, bracha v'atzlacha. And also, I want to say thank you to everybody who comes to the shiurim. I don't get to say thank you, but today I will. And our guests from Jersey, and to all the guys who come here Divrei Torah, especially who come to hear Torah Ha'ari HaKadosh. We see a lot today. We're going to say a lot of things from the Ari HaKadosh. Zchut of the Ari should be Magen Alechem ve'aleinu. Today is the Hilulah of the Maharsha, Rav Shalom Eliezer, I believe. Idols. He was the one of the great Mefarshim on the Shas, the Maharsha. So we might say a couple of words about him too. Today is a very special night. We're getting closer to Chanukah. We're exactly 20 days away from Chanukah. So that means Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev. That's almost a third of the year gone already. So you just opened your eyes and you closed it, the third of the year is finished. Now before I'm going to start the shiur, the name of the shiur is, why did God destroy worlds and build them again? Destroy them and build them again. There's a famous Gemara, I believe it's in Masechet Chagiga, that says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu boneh olamot u'machrivan. God created worlds and destroyed them, and He only saw fit to create this world on the broken pieces. On the broken pieces. That's what He did. Okay, it has to do with Shibrat HaKelim. We're going to discuss it in a minute. There's another midrash that says that this world is actually not the original world that it was supposed to be. Rather, we're 974 generations into the actual world. That means Hashem saw, when He created the world, He let the world expand as is. Right, and He saw that if the world would be continued at that point that He made it in the beginning, the generations that would come, the beginning generations, is to be exact 974 generations, would be total Rishaim. So He decided to wipe the slate clean, to finish them off, and to start the world from Adam HaRishon. And what's the proof of that? The Zohar HaKadosh says that before God created Adam, He asked his parents for permission. Did Adam HaRishon have any parents? So Rabbi Yehuda says that was the 974th generation. So those parents came to Hashem's will. We want to have him as our kid. He's supposed to be our kid. Why do we get to lose out? So Hashem said, listen, that's the way it's going to be, the Gzerah B'Chokhmato, that he has to start it as if I made him myself and not you guys, even though you guys were supposed to be the parents. It's a Zohar like that. Rabbi Yehuda brings it in Minchat Yehuda towards the end. I don't know if it's in the English version. But that's what it says over there towards the end, is Perush on the Zohar HaKadosh. That there was, and so what's the secret of the number 974? I'm not going to answer all the answers today, but just to whet the appetite, I just want to let you guys know that this week's parasha is probably the most Kabbalistic parasha of the whole Sefer Bereshit. That's saying a lot. So long. Because you have Bereshit itself, 6 days of creation, Noach, the Teva, you have Vayera, you have Chaye Sarah, the Kadim, the jugs of water of Rivka, the burial of Sarah, and then you have the blessings of Yaakov and Esau, which is secrets in itself. Somebody asked me today, just as a side point, why did Hashem make it in a way that Yaakov stole the blessings? That's what it was. It says over there, Ba'achicha b'mirma, your brother came with trickery. Mirma is trickery. So Unkulu says b'chokhmah. It was not trickery, it was actually with wisdom. You have to be smart to be tricky. And this week's parasha too, Yaakov tells Rachel, Rachel Imenu, he says to her, don't worry, I'm your father's brother. So the Mefarshim say, what? He's not his brother, he's his nephew. No, he meant I'm your father's brother in trickery. He thinks he's tricky, I'm also tricky too. I could mess with him. At the end, she sold him out. Rachel sold Yaakov out not to embarrass Leah. Not to embarrass Leah. This whole parasha talks about zivugim. It talks about the olamot, akudim, nikudim, berudim. Everything, Lavan himself is connected, his kedusha at least, is connected to the olam called Keter. That's why he's called Lavan, such a vile human being. How do we say in the Haggadah? Lavan bikesh la'akor et hakol. Lavan wanted to erase everything. How could his name be a connection to the highest partsuf in the olamot elyonim, called Ak, Adam Kadmon, Ak, which is connected to Keter. Keter is it's the seed, it's everything, it's the whiteness. On Shabbat we have to wear white or light colors because we need to connect to Keter. Whatever you wear has a reflection of what you are. So how could Lavan, who's the most vile human being in the whole Torah, he's the one that's, his name is there to be connected to the highest sphere, and Yaakov in a way was subservient to him, to the point where Yaakov at the end of the parasha has to make a treaty, is forced to make a treaty with this vile human being called Lavan, who was an Oved Avodah Zarah. His Avodah Zarah was called Trafim, where he used to slaughter the heads of the firstborns, and then he would salt it and pickle it, mummify it, and then he would use it in some kind of a weird sorcery way where it would say some kind of atidot, nivuot to him. And of course, there's so many secrets of what's the secret of Rachel putting those Avodah Zarahs in the trunk of the camel and she's sitting on it. This is crazy stuff are going this week's parasha, amazing things. And we're not going to be able to go through everything. I want to discuss one thing specifically. It says in this week's parasha, so wait, before I go, so the guy asked him, why did Yaakov have to steal the blessings? I mean, if you look at it, any goy that's going to come and open up our Torah, he's like, well, you Jews, you see, you guys asked for it. Look at your grandfather. You know, he's over here stealing blessings, this, that. What's going on? You guys are Jewish people. You're supposed to be honest. What's going on? The Zohar says, he said, Anochi Esav Bechorecha. I am that I am. But Esav is your Bechor. Come on, you're playing a play on words over here. Say the truth. Or so the guy asked me, just tell your father, I bought the birthright, I bought the firstbornship, so I'm deserving of the blessings, not Esav. Correct or incorrect? And the answer, there's many answers. And of course I told you last week that Yitzchak knew Esav was a Rasha. Yitzchak told him, take your shechita knife, slaughter me. He did it. You don't tell a rabbi, buy me kosher food. You say that to a guy who doesn't know what's kosher, yes or no? You don't go to a person and be like, oh, don't forget to make sure it's kosher when you buy it for me. You only say that to who? To a Rasha. It's a famous story, we're going to get back to it. I just heard it today. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu said the story. One time, the Baba Sali, many people used to come to him. And of course, you come to a tzaddik, you come bearing gifts. So there is a mitzvah in the Torah called Bikurim. Bikurim is when you plant one of the 7 fruits of the Eretz Yisrael, and those fruits grow. The first of the fruits, you have to put it in a basket. You have to color it up nicely, and you have to bring it up to Yerushalayim. You bring it up to Yerushalayim, it's called Bikurim. The first, it also could be read as Bukharim. So this is a mitzvah that's very dear to the Bukharian Jews. So this Bikurim, there's also a mitzvah for the Ashkenazim too, don't worry about it. So this mitzvah of Bikurim, when you go to, we don't have this mitzvah anymore today. Why? We don't have a Beit HaMikdash. You have to bring it to the Kohen. So there was a big rabbi called Rav Eliyahu Mani. He has a book, and in this book, he writes over there many mitzvot that a person has to do, rare mitzvot. For example, the mitzvah to give a loan to a goy on interest. Many people don't fulfill this mitzvah in their lifetime. Where are you going to go? What am I, a banker over here? I'm going to give a loan, he's going to give me interest. Let's say you do have this mitzvah come to you, and a goy comes to you and asks you for a loan. It's a mitzvah to loan him on a ribit. To a Jew, it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do it. So a person could come back in that ibur or gilgul nishma just to fulfill this mitzvah. Or for example, the mitzvah that we all fulfilled this year of shmitat ksafim, to give a loan before the shmita. Then after the shmita, you say mishametani, I forgive you. I don't want this money anymore. It's mitzvah. We were zochet to fulfill this mitzvah. Some people gave out loans, they fulfilled the mitzvah of pruzbul, right? Shiluach haken. Many people don't do this mitzvah. Just yesterday, somebody in our shiur, he was zochet to do this mitzvah. It's a very big mitzvah to do. It's one of the rare mitzvot. Pidyon Peter Chamor. Everyone over here, Baruch Hashem, was zochet to do this mitzvah. Pidyon Haben, unfortunately, not many people do. But there is a mitzvah. It's called Bikurim. We don't have this mitzvah today, correct or incorrect? But, however, you could fulfill this mitzvah, says Rav Eliyahu Mani. How? When you go to see a tzaddik hu bichinat kohen. He writes like this, Rav Eliyahu Mani. He writes, when you go to the kohen, when you go to a tzaddik, come to him bearing gifts. So one time, one very rich French guy came to the Baba Sali with a whole package of meat and this and that. Comes to Baba Sali, come bearing gifts. This guy is a burba ma'aretz. Baba Sali was very sharp person. He wouldn't cut corners. So he came to him and the Baba said, I'm not taking this from you. He says to him, but Harav, he's like, I don't take stuff from people like you. He said, but I have a brother, he's a rabbi in Ramle, Rav Yitzchak, his name was Baba Chaki, Rav Yitzchak Abuchatz. Yeah, go to him, he's going to give you he'll take it from you. So he goes all the way to Ramle, bearing the gifts, with the meat, this, that, tzedakahs. He comes to him and the Baba Sali, and he said, your brother sent me from Netivot to bring you the food. He said, did my brother take him? He said, no. He said, why would my brother send this guy to must be the kosher, the food is tarif. He's like, tell me the truth, is this food kosher? He says, no, I don't keep kosher. He says, listen, I can't take it from you, I keep kosher, Baruch Hashem. But I will make an esek with you. What's that esek? You're going to leave here right now, you're going back to France. You promise me, take upon yourself one mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? He was very big in Kiruv, Baba Chaki. He said, do this one mitzvah. What? Before you eat food, wash your hands al netilat yadayim. That's it. Before you eat, say al netilat yadayim, and then eat. Eat your treif. Chai, nishba. You swear? Swear. Shake the hands. I swear I'm going to do this. It's easy, he says. He goes on the plane, Air France, going back to wherever he's going, to Paris, and they're serving him now on the plane. Treif lemahadrin. But you know, the French are very big in their pastries and baked goods. They bring some nice baguette, this, that. This guy is a big guy. He's sitting over there, he's putting the thing, he's ready to eat. His wife tells him, didn't you promise the Baba Haki you're gonna do al netilat yadayim? You're right. He tells the waitress, the dayelet, the woman, the stewardess, where can I want what things over here, a restaurant? The bathroom, you go, you wash your hands over there. He comes back, he does the netilah, he promised, he's about to say, eat the food. His wife tells him, how are you going to say on this hamotzi lechem, over here you have non-kosher food? How are you going to say Hashem's name on that? And he's sitting over there, why, this Baba Haki, he got me good over here. And he didn't eat the whole plane ride, he didn't touch it. How can I say Hashem's name on the food? And he didn't, slowly by slowly became Choser B'Tshuva from that. True story, Mordechai Eliyahu says the story. How the Chachamim knew from their insight, from the keen insight, what to tell a person to make him Choser B'Tshuva. Sometimes when a person comes to you, you have to, it's gonna come, it's gehin. It's sometimes hard for a person to take why. He's right at the end of the day. But the Ari HaKadosh explains, every person is a kli. If I take a kli this big, and I come with a huge tank of water, I'm going to spill it in the kli, what's going to happen to the kli? It's going to explode. But if I go to the kli, like Rabbi Akiva, drop and drop of water, one by one, at the end you're going to have kos maleh bracha. Kos maleh bracha. But back to what we were originally saying, when you go to a tzaddik, you have to bring to him bikurim. It's a mitzvah. Rav Eliyahu Mani says, whoever does this mitzvah, it's like he fulfilled the mitzvah of bikurim in our generation. Especially if he's a Kohen, he says. Especially if he's a Kohen. So too, what's the secret of the Bikurim? When you bring the Bikurim to the Kohen is Sod Chesed, the right column. He's the column that gives. And then he gives you the bracha back. And then you go home and your Parnasah gets the bracha shefa, double and triple. So, Yitzchak asked Esav to bring him the shefa of the Bikurim. That was the secret of that food that he asked him to bring him. Now what happened was over here, that in the Olamot Elyonim, there's also a system called Yaakov. There is a system of 10 Sfirot that are called Yaakov. It's called Yaakov. And then there is right next to it, there's a system called Esav. Esav in Shamayim, his Shoresh. he always wants to suck the shefa, the yinika, from the kedusha. He always has to. So what does Hashem do? Hashem causes a zivug in Shamayim, a zivug, a connection. When the klipa, when Esav sees that it's going to be now divrei Torah, what does he do? Right away when he hears Torah, he runs away. And who comes in and takes the bracha? Yaakov. So just the Ari says, just like in Shamayim, Hashem kabutabi tricks the Yetzer Hara to run away, and then the Kedusha comes and snatches the bracha. So too the same thing had to happen down here. So and what's that secret? On Rosh Hashanah. So basically Rivka set the whole thing up. The way it is in Shamayim. That's what happens on Rosh Hashanah too. We blow the shofar, the Satan hears the shofar, he doesn't like it. He goes away, and right away the Kedusha comes and he snatches the brachot. Whatever goes on in Shamayim has to happen down here too. That's why sometimes in life, it says, Al titchok et hashah. Sometimes Hashem gives you an opportunity. A job opportunity. He gives you an opportunity for a bat zug. Somebody comes to you and says, listen, I have a girl for you. And inside you're like, no, this, that. Al titchok et hashah. Because in Shamayim, you have to go through a certain amount of tribulations until you meet your bat zug. If you keep on being dochek et hashah, no, I don't want, you're still going to go through those yisurim. The more you push it away, the more you're pushing your real zivug away. You understand? It's called being dochek et hashah. Somebody comes, offers you a job. No, I don't want. I'm too lazy. But what's a job? It's a pipe, and there's shefa coming down from it. And you're saying to Hashem, no, it's okay. Lock it. I don't need it. So what happens? You're dochek et hashah. Somebody, or for example, somebody's coming to you and says, let me teach you something. I want to teach you something, some secrets of the Torah. I want to open up your mind to something more kadosh. It's like, it's not for me. I'm about to be 40 years old. I have to be married with great grandkids. Then I can learn the secrets of the Torah. What do you use that called? That's what happened with Yaakov and Rivka. Yaakov told Rivka, why should I go in? If I don't need to get the bracha, then it's not my time. She said to him, Kaleh. You're 63 years old, for the love of God. All day in your yeshiva. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to get married. Al titchok et hasha'ah. Alay kililatcha. Your curse is on me. She said, and Ruach HaKodesh, I know that you're not going to get cursed. I know. You're going to get a bracha at the end. You do your ishtadus, you're going to get a bracha. What did she do? She put on him the beautiful clothes of Adam HaRishon. Because Yaakov Avinu, by the way, he looked exactly like Adam. They had the same kind of genetic features. And then on his hands, she put the hands of Esav, the seirot, the goat skin, the sharp skin. Why? To show to Yitzhak that Yaakov turned the garments of skin to garments of light. And when he came in, he smelled the Gan Eden. So everything that was going on in that story was a replica of what goes on in Shamayim. And the same thing happens to us down here. When a person comes to get the shefa, if you're not going to get that shefa, somebody else is going to snatch it. Because it doesn't go to waste, the shefa. There's no kind of thing as shefa going to waste. Only in one situation, we all know that avera that's coming up for shovavim. There's only one instance where shefa goes to the garbage. And I don't want to say the word. You guys all know what it is. That's why we fast during shovavim, to get those nitzotzot back. And that's what's going to happen in 2 weeks in the parasha in Vayeshev, with that thing that happened to Yosef HaTzadik. Somebody asked me, why is Chas v'Shalom, the Torah telling me stories? Baba Mai says that 10 drops spurted from his. First of all, the Torah doesn't say that. It's a midrash. It's learned from the bracha that Yaakov gave to Yosef. There was no things coming out. Rabbi Yehuda Ftaya says, of course, it came out of the brit. But what came out of his hands? The things, the hevel. Because how does the tipa come down? It comes from the da'at. When it comes down from the da'at, it makes its way through the whole goof, and then it comes out of the yesod. What happened to Yosef before it went out of his yesod? It first made a pit stop by the fingers, and a little chamimut, the heat of the zerak, the heat only, not the actual liquid, but the heat of the action came out of his fingers, and those heat is what we call the 10 martyrs. Asara Haruge Malchut, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Hanania ben Teradion, Rabbi Yishveh Sofer, Rabbi Chutzpita Meturgaman, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. You guys know the 10 martyrs we all say every morning. El Nekamot Hashem, And like it's one thing you can never skip in your tefillah. Remember that, says the Ari. You skip that, it's like you didn't daven that day, chas v'shalom. The tefillah doesn't go up. You have to wait for somebody to pick up your tefillah. Anyways, but we see in the Torah, everything that comes down, Kiddusha, you look at the book of Bereshit, has to come through some kind of destruction. Everything. Noah had to build the world through destruction. He cursed Ham and Canaan through, it was a destructive thing. Adam HaRishon only gave birth to his kids through eating from the Etz Hadad. Avraham was born through the act of Nidah. Yitzchak had to be slaughtered on the thing. Yaakov had to run away had to steal the blessings. And then we see this week's parasha, even his marriage to his wife had to be through some kind of tricky situation. Imagine waking up in the morning, it's not your wife. You got the other sister over there. What's going on over you? You could have said mekach ta'ut. You could have said. Yaakov could have said it's mekach ta'ut. This is not what I signed up for over here. Give me my real wife back. He could have said that it's halakha. But you think Lavan listens to halakha? Lavan said what they say, the old timers. You have to have some shame, you know? There's a saying in Bukharian like that, right? You have to have, you're going to be ashamed in the community over here. How could you he played his own card against him. How could you embarrass the older sister by taking the younger sister? Aren't you a Jew? Aren't you a Yid? How are you going to embarrass her? He played his own game on him. He got stuck over there for another 7 years. Mazeh. What's going on? And Yaakov Avinu, he didn't die in Eretz Yisrael because he married 2 sisters, says the Ari HaKadosh. In Parashat Ba'alotcha and Shar Psukim, it was an Avera on his part for marrying 2 sisters. He wasn't allowed to do that. His plan was to do it correctly. First marry Rachel, have Yosef, who's the real Bechor, and then Binyamin, and then she's going to pass away. After that, he was going to take Leah, because he took Leah before her time. It says he hated Leah. What does that mean he hated Leah? He didn't see her as the Akeret Habayit. She was the second wife. She was the first, but really the second one. You understand? And when he married her, it says over there she was Snu'ah. Snu'ah means like hated. Not Chashon that he hated her, he's a tzaddik. But he didn't show that affection that he showed to Rachel. Now even if you don't show affection, if you're nice to the second, the fact that you didn't show the affection to the other one, of course she's going to feel out of place. Rachel did all that she can to make her feel good, her younger sister. That's why when she came to ask her for the Dudaim, she said, didn't you steal my husband? Who are you to say that? She gave you the Simanim. But Rachel was such a tzaddik that she uplifted her sister. There is a very interesting point in the parasha. We see, you guys get the point here, what's going on in all these parashiot. Even Yosef HaTzadik getting to the place of the viceroy, it was through the worst Avera in the Torah. The selling of Yosef is the worst Avera, maybe rivaled by the Egel. That's it. These 2 are the worst Averot in the whole Torah. Even worse than the eating of the Etz Hadad by Adam HaRishon. Mechirat Yosef, we're still paying for it till today. The Egel HaZahav, we're still paying for it for today. Anyways, so we see over here that she said, and now Yaakov is getting rich. He's getting very rich. But through suffering. Don't think he was sitting over there, every sheep was over there. You know what it is to raise sheep? You ever been to a barn, to a farm? Just as a trip. It doesn't smell good. You have animals all around you. You think that's a good job to be mefarnes yourself? When Lavan runs after him, Yaakov says to Lavan, in the morning I was burning by the sun. In the night I was freezing. I never left your flock alone. He said to him, if it wasn't my God that was by me, you would have left me a destitute, penniless, homeless man. And know what Lavan tells him, all this gava, I made you. Because that's what a Rasha does. He doesn't see Hashem. He's saying, I made you. I did this to you. I do. Now you owe me. And then he fakes it. He kisses his daughters as if he loves them. And he leaves. We all know Lavan comes back as Bil'am. And Bil'am comes back as Naval. Naval Carmeli. That's Naval was the husband of Abigail, the prophetess. She was one of the 4 beautiful women in the world. She ends up marrying David HaMelech. Naval dies because he was too cheap. Why was he cheap? Because who's his Gilgul? Lavan. The guy can't even give a couple of sheep for his son-in-law. He's going to give. And David is a nitzotz also of Yaakov. It was the same tikkun going on over here. And now Yaakov wants to kill Lavan. David wants to kill Naval. And who saves his life? His wife, Abigail. Who is that over here? Leah. Because Lavan saved Leah by making sure she doesn't get embarrassed by being single. Because when a person is embarrassed, it's like he's dead. Now Abigail saves Naval by making sure David doesn't kill him. And all the circle comes together. But don't think Naval died and he was headed to what?
Name spelled backwards.
Yeah, Lavan and Naval, same name, exactly. That's same person. And now he's Jewish. That's the secret. Well, how did he get Jewish? Bil'am, he was the worst goy in the world, but he was killed by a tzaddik. The fact that he was killed by Pinchas was itself a tikkun for him. And now, that's why Bil'am said, may I die a death of the righteous. And by doing that, he blessed himself to be killed by Pinchas. And then he comes back as a Jew, as Naval, a very rich one too. And then Naval comes back as who? A king of Israel. Asa, the king of Israel. Wow. Asa HaMelech, who was a tzaddik yesod olam. But he had one problem. He didn't trust the Chachamim. Why? I did it for you. I made you. And then Asa comes back as who? Mashiach himself. Zerubbabel, Nehemiah. Nehemiah was Mishorish Lavan. Could you believe such a thing? Who did he come? Who was the Shoresh of Lavan? Who was inside of him? Nehemiah at Yershasa, who is Zerubbabel, who built the second temple, is Lavan. And the Shoresh keeps on going until you know where it gets. Who wrote the Gemara? Ravina and Rav Ashi. Ravina is Lavan. Is Mishorish Lavan. And who else? The Alshich. There were three big rabbis in Tzfat. The Alshich, he was the Darshan. There was the Posek. Who's the Posek? The Rav Yosef Karo. And then there was the Mikubal, the Ari. And before him the Ramak. The Alshich was Lavan. Mishorish Lavan. We're talking about a huge Shorish Neshama over here. It's not for nothing. He had a huge story in the Torah. Because this guy was a very big Neshama. But what do we see interesting in all their names? They all have two letters in their name. All of them. Bet Lamed. Naval, Lavan, Bil'am, Zerubbabel. They all have this Bet Lamed, because they're fixing the Bet Lamed of Hevel. Because they are from the source soul of Hevel. But from the Har side of it, the Bet Lamed. And who fixed the Hay of Hevel? Moshe. That's why Moshe's arch nemesis is who? Bil'am. So it's really the same fight that's going on over and over. Lavan versus Yaakov. Moshe versus Bil'am. Cain versus Hevel. It's all the same fight that's coming over and over. And also Shaul versus David. It's all the same fight. That's why the Chidush I had today, why does the Torah say, the Gemara says, the world, Mashiach will only come, which means the fruition of the world, when there's going to be Ahavat Chinam. No more Sinat Chinam, only Ahavat Chinam. But the Gemara also brings other reasons why the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. For example, they didn't do Lifnim Mishurat Hadin. They would paskin the halacha as is. They wouldn't do it in a merciful way. You know what I mean? Whatever the black and white halacha was, sometimes you have to give in a bit, even if you're right. Correct or incorrect? So how come we don't say until we're going to do Lifnim Mishurat Hadin? Then Mashiach is going to come. Then the Galut is going to finish. We say it has to be Ahavat Chinam. Why Ahavat Chinam? Because the whole fight in this world is a fight between two brothers. Two halves of the same coin. Until we don't realize that we're the same person, we're the same, then you can't have Geula. Because what's Geula? I take away the masach. I take away the illusion that we're different. Because it's the space between us is an illusion. Even science tells us that, right? Between us, there is space. There's no space, really. There's atoms between us. Is it true or not? Is there such a thing as empty space? There's no empty space. Everything is filled with something. Correct? There's always matter, just we can't see it. You understand? We don't see it. If we don't take away that illusion of sin'ah, then we could never have Geula. Not because it won't come, because it's impossible to come. Because we're missing the whole point. So when Cain will learn to love Hevel, and Korach will learn to love Moshe, and Shaul will learn to love David, and I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about us. In this room there are people from the soul of David. from the soul of Shaul, from the soul of Lavan, from the soul of Eliezer. There's everybody in this room. It's because we have a certain nitzos from those shorashim that still need to be finished. You understand? So you are one of those people. Until we don't learn that we have to work together and take away that illusion, it's never gonna end. Sometimes we need the separation. When Lavan goes after Yaakov, he says to him, let's make a treaty. You're not gonna pass your way, and I'm not gonna pass. Of course, Lavan breaks the treaty the next second. He sends messengers to Esav. Guess who's coming your way? Finish the job. Finish the job. And he comes to him with 400 men. But at that moment, when Esav meets him with 400 men, what does he do? He hugs him and he kisses him. There's a machloket in the Gemara. One rabbi says he didn't kiss him. He was going for the neck. He was going for the jugular. He was gonna rip it out. He was gonna rip out his the Yaakov's. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says no. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says he actually kissed him for real that time.
But he wanted to buy it.
He had him. No, that's one man to Omar. But Rabbi Shimon says no in the Gemara. He says he actually kissed him for real that time. He had rachamim, v'afta l'rakamocha. And then what does it say? V'yavo Yaakov Shalem. Then Yaakov was Shalem. Then Yaakov is complete. Then it's complete. That's why most Gerim come from Esav. He had billions of Nishamot Kedoshot inside of him. He had billions of Gerim inside of him. What's interesting in the parasha, and this is the point I wanted to get, the main point. All of the Ari's works is in one sentence in this week's parasha. When Yaakov is going through very big financial ruin, because he's working for free basically. For 7 years, he worked for a woman. And then he doesn't get the woman he wants. And then for another 7 years, he works for another woman. So for 14 years, he worked for free.
And then how many years he worked for the...
10 years.
For
I think so. 14. He was away 22 years altogether. So that's going to be another 7 years he worked. 21 years. 21 years, and 1 year it took him to come back. What about the 14 years he was in Shem and Ever's yeshiva? Do we count that? Because we know he was 84 when he got married, but he was 63 when he left. What do we say about those 14 years that are missing in the middle? It doesn't count. Why? Learning Torah is not considered bitul kibud avayim. That's actually the source. Learning Torah is on the same level. Talmud Torah keneged kulam. But Yaakov Avinu, he's seeing financial ruin, and it's not easy. He has 12 kids. He's got to feed them, no?
It's also said that he needed to go through the yeshiva in order to get ready for...
That's true, yeah, that's true. And we also mentioned this chidush once, that while he was there, he didn't sleep, and 14 is Gematria David, and we see the connection between Yaakov and David, right? Because David, Naval, Lavan, it's all connected. But, He had money? Yeah, everything was taken away. Eliphaz went after him. Eliphaz, the father of Amalek, went after him,
And then he gave it to, his brother anyway.
Who?
After he was coming
After he came back, he gave everything to his brother, just leave me alone. But anyways, Yaakov Avinu, Hashem gives him the shefa at the end. What happened? He's there, a shepherd, a very hard job, very stinky, smelly job. The Gemara says, don't ever be a shepherd. Don't ever raise animals. Yes, it says, don't be megadel be'ema daka. It's not a pleasant thing to do. So he's over there shepherding, and Lavan changes his scheme 1,000 times. 1,000 times. One day he tells him, all the speckled sheep. Now, I want to ask you, most sheep, are they speckled? They're either black, white, even black you barely have any. 1,000 times. He tells him, no, it's only going to be brown specks are yours. Then black specks are yours. Then black and white. He changed it 1,000 times, and every time he changes it, he gets it. And he grows and grows and grows. In 7 years, he rivals his own father-in-law's wealth. He rivals his wealth. And Lavan tells Yaakov, Nichashti. I made sorcery. I predicting. V'yivarcheni Hashem. Suddenly he knows how to say Hashem's name. V'yivarcheni Hashem biglalecha. God bless me because of you. You're my good luck charm. I can't let you leave. You need to stay. over here. We see one other time Yaakov blesses a nation too in Mitzrayim. He comes to Mitzrayim, the whole Nile gets blessed because of Yaakov. And Yaakov Avinu is very hurt. He's alone. He's away from his father. The Torah says that his mother passes away in this week's parasha, but he wasn't there to bury her, and it was a shame for Yaakov. It was a shame for him that he wasn't there to bury his mother. And he felt very ruined because of that. And the Torah hints it says that his mother's maidservant died, Devorah. Why does it say Devorah died? Because it was really Rivka. But the Torah doesn't want to HaShalom put Yaakov down, Yaakov Avinu, and say that he wasn't there and let Esav bury her. It's Rashi. Yaakov is there and he sees in the dream, Hashem comes to him. Which Hashem? There's only one Hashem. But sometimes Hashem sends his angels. Yaakov is in Chutz La'aretz. The angel comes to him. Which angel? In the neder. The neder that he made in Bet El. The swear that he made. Hashem, if you bring me back, I'm going to give Ma'aser. Anything you give me, I'm going to give Ma'aser. He doesn't. He didn't give all the Ma'aser, right? And that was a problem that he did that in his level, of course. And he says, I'm that thing. It's time for you to pay up. You're a neder. It's time for you to pay up. It's time for you to go home. So he gets ready. In the dream, Hashem shows him three kinds of sheep. Akudim, Nikudim, Uberudim. He sees, Hashem shows him three kinds of sheep. Goats and sheep, checkered, speckled, spotted, Akudim, Nikudim, Uberudim. Different kinds of sheep. And he says, I see everything Lavan is doing to you. And he shows him these three sheep. Now, if you see sheep in your dream, I don't think it means anything. Maybe it does. But in his dream, it did mean something. The Ari says, the whole pasuk over here is the whole Etz HaChaim. It's all the Kabbalah, all the Sod, all the Kabbalah, all the Torah HaChen is in this pasuk. I see everything Lavan is doing to you. Lavan over here doesn't mean Lavan is father-in-law. Lavan over here is the keter of all the keters. And who is that? Ak. I see everything Lavan is doing to you. So the first 10 sfirot, the original, is called Ak. It's what we call the keter of all keters. It's such a high level, we don't even speak about it. I see everything that Ak is doing to you, Yaakov. And what is that? Akudim, Nikudim, and Berudim. What is that? The Ari HaKadosh says when Hashem created the world, He first broke worlds and then He created worlds out of that. That means when Hashem first created the world, it had to be done b'madrega, in levels. You can't win the lottery right away. You can't get that dream house right away. You have to go through the tribulations of the biniyah. You have to go through the process. Why does Hashem do that? We're finite beings. If we get an infinite amount of pleasure at one shot, what happens to you? Overdose. The neshama comes out. So Hashem has to do b'madrega. And a big process of that is Yisurim. What's Yisurim? Yisurim is there to strengthen your muscles. Why? So that when you're going to get that package from Hashem, you're going to be ready to hold it. But if you're not going to be ready to hold it, it's going to be a shbira. That's why the Ari says, how do you know that your bat zug is your true bat zug? If right before the wedding, the marriage, there was a lot of chaos till it had. It was turbulence. The flight was... But if everything is going smoothly in life, you have to be besuffic, something isn't so right over here. Right? Why? The Ari HaKadosh says that the Yetzer Hara, that it says over there, Hashem makes zivugim. We see this week's parasha, right? Hashem makes zivugim. When Hashem makes the zivugim, it's not hard to get the person married. It's hard to keep them married. That's the hard part. To get married, everybody's happy. Look at the weddings. People are willing to spend $500 on a wedding today to sit down and, it's a seat is a seat. Yeah, we used to come to a wedding, used to have a bite, l'chaim, one dance. Now we're going to stay and get our money's worth, Now we're staying till the end. And we're going to get invited to the Sheva Brachot. So you have to be ready to get the shefa. Now what happens? Sometimes the shefa doesn't, when you get the shefa, it doesn't work. you get broken again and again and again. Hashem was showing Yaakov that when he created the world, before you're gonna get rich, Yaakov, before you're gonna go see Esav, you have to be ready. To be ready, you have to go through what Lavan is doing too. The first world that God created, where we saw Hashem's vessel, was called Akudim. Akudim in Hebrew, in regular Hebrew, it means to tie. Could anybody here, do Jewish trivia, we haven't done that in a while. In which parasha do we see the word Akudim? Akedat Yitzchak. So the binding of Yitzchak was the first step into preparing Klal Yisrael to be a nation. First it needed Olam HaAkudim. But the problem was Yitzchak is only one man. He's only one man. Why do we need to bind Yitzchak? Because out of him comes Esav. And Esav is Gvura. What's Gvura? Gvura is beauty. Gvura is richness. Gvura is fire. Gvura is beauty. It's beautiful. But if you don't know how to have tzniut, what happens to that Gvura? It dies out. It's destruction. If you don't know how to hold it in, how to tie it, what happens? It goes to waste, chas v'shalom. So who ties up Yitzchak? Who's the Akudim here? Who's the one that's tying him? Avraham. Avraham is Ish HaChesed. So who comes to bind Yitzchak? Avraham comes. And Yitzchak opens up his neck to say, yes, I'm ready to get that sweetening of the judgment. After Akedat Yitzchak, we have Olam HaNikudim. Olam HaNikudim is Esav. At the end of next week's parasha, we're going to read about the 7 kings of Esav. Before there was a king to Israel, there were 7 kings from Esav. Those 7 kings are the original 7 sfirot, called the Midot, which are Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. But they didn't have these names originally. They had different names. What were they called? For example, Chesed was called Yovav. Yovav. Gevura was called Chusham. Tiferet was called Hadad. Netzach and Hod were one king called Samlam Masleka. Yesod was called who? Shaul. By the way, this is where Shaul HaMelech's neshama came from. That's why his kingship didn't last. It didn't last and it broke. And then Malchut was originally called Baal Hanan. Inside of them was the Da'at. You know what was the Da'at's original name? Bela ben Beor. That's Bil'am. Says Rashi, that's Bil'am. Not in the Torah, in a different place he says that. Bela ben Beor is Bil'am. Who's Bil'am? Lavan. So who does Yaakov have to go through until he fixes these things and brings them to its real name, Chesed Gevura Tiferet? Who does he have to fight against? Bil'am himself, Lavan. He has to fix him, but to fix them, what does he have to do to them? To take the Kedusha out of the Klippa is only one way. You have to break it. You have to go through tribulation. You have to break it. You have to build the world on a swamp. Because the swamp was the original world. And only through breaking it can I take out the good. Only, how do you know? Ever see a piece of gold come out of the ground? It doesn't look like gold. It looks like dirt. Mamash, dirt. How do you clean gold?
Burn it.
You have to burn it. You have to melt it. You have to refine it. And after you take out all the sigim, then you have a little 24 karat nugget. Out of all that balagan, you come out with something so little. That's what Hashem did in the beginning, and that's the last goat that Yaakov saw in his dream, which is Berudim, Olam HaTikun. What's Olam HaTikun? After Yaakov fixes it, he comes up as a new human being. He's Shalem with 12 sons. What's the Tikkun?
Complete.
The completion, children. The ability to reproduce and send it to the next generation. To have Talmidim. To have a place to teach Torah. To be a Rebbe. To be a father. To be a father and a Rebbe. Somebody was asking me for a source for something. I was opening up Masechet Kiddushin. page Lamed Aleph. It says over there, whoever teaches his kids Torah, it's the highest level. Whoever teaches his grandkids Torah, it's like he's giving the Torah at Mount Sinai. Wow, it's unbelievable things. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi used to teach his grandson Shnayim Mikra v'Achat Targum. And the rabbis used to tell him, what are you doing? You're Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. You should be teaching poskim. He says, what, you think it's easy to give Torah at Mount Sinai? Sometimes in life we think something is big, but it's really small. And something is small, it's really very big. So whoever gets Aliyat Revi'i this week, he wins. Because the whole dream of Yaakov is an Aliyat Revi'i over here, where he sees the Akudim, the Nikudim, the Berudim. Now, where do you see this in your everyday life? I'm going to tell you a secret now where you could have this kavanah every single day. Ibechlalu, that's Shemot of Hashem. Every day you could have this kavanah when you wake up in the morning. Why? We go through this process every day. Every day. You have the microcosm, then you have the macrocosm, right? How do you go through this every day? When you go to sleep at night, you're basically going through a shavira. It's 1/60th of death. You're breaking. Your body breaks. When a person is asleep, he's like he's dead. Only his heart is beating and his mind is dreaming. If hopefully kedusha, not tomorrow. You understand? When a person is sleeping, he's going through a shavira. When you wake up, when are you supposed to wake up? What's the first seif in the Shulchan Aruch? You have to wake up the morning. Yidgaber ka'ari le'orer et hashachar. To wake up the morning. And what do we do first thing in the morning? Netilah, talit, and tefillin. That tefillin is the last world of tikkun. When you wear your tefillin, what is your tefillin basically? When your neshama comes inside, the or is so strong that the Ari says that it breaks out of your metzach, your forehead. And when it breaks out, it turns into tefillin. And by doing that, you're fixing the last day, by the way. Because at midnight, the Shechina goes down into the Klippa to take out that pieces of gold, to take them out. When the job will be done, then Mashiach will come. And Hashem gives us this job so we could join Him in the creation. And that's going to be your reward.
That's your credit.
That's your credit. That's your credit. That's your credit. The job will be done with or without you. But do you want to get that credit over there in the future to stand with all the Tanaim, Amoraim, Tzadikim, and be like, I was a partner in the creation of the world? And when you do that, and if you do that, your Gan Eden is immeasurable. Your Sachar is immeasurable. And especially if you do it, Leshem, Yichud, Kutsha, Berichu, Ushchinte. May Hashem bless us all with Kol HaBrachot, Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer.